Hey guys, welcome back. Day 26 of the Fit Chick Project, and we are coming down to the final stretch of interviews. And today I've got on a special guest, the People's Champ, Lindsey Valenzuela. Lindsey, if you guys don't know her, she's well known by CrossFitters worldwide, having gained the label Lift Like Lindsey for being one of the strongest female competitors out there and the first CrossFit Games woman, I believe, to snatch 200 pounds. I remember still to this day watching the video. Lindsey began CrossFit training in 2009 and really dominated the sport until 2015, including a third place finish in the 2013 CrossFit Games. She was also one of the first women to really start the trend of motherhood for all the CrossFit Games female athletes. In this interview, she talks about the highs and the lows that she's faced from going from an elite athlete to going through pregnancy, and how, despite the challenges, why she wouldn't trade this new position for the world. And for those of you guys that don't have kids, just a warning, you'll get a good taste of what these amazing moms go through, as LV has her hands full during the entire interview. And for those of you guys that do have kids, you'll probably be relieved to see that you are not alone in the kid chaos. Some of my favorite lessons that Lindsey shares is how, for the first time in her life, she's had to face the question, am I ever going to be able to get back into shape? Am I ever going to be fit again? We also talked about what she did to lose the weight safely, how she's fought the athlete brain of comparing her new self to her old self, how facing a miscarriage with her second baby was, an emotional roller coaster for her, why even on her roughest days, she wouldn't trade being a mom for the world, what her training and diet looks like now, what keeps her motivated, and what she does when she doesn't feel like working out, and along with her advice for looking and feeling fit for all the ladies out there. So be sure to check out this video with LV, follow her on her Instagram links below, and I hope you guys enjoy the show. All right, what's up, Linz? Thanks for being on the show.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to have you on today because, well, for a couple of reasons. First off, number one, you were like the first person to kind of transition into motherhood, like kind of the OGs to make that jump. And I'm just curious, like, what that was like for you while, all your competitors and friends were still competing, what your transition looked like, and then really just kind of what fitness kind of like means to you today. So I'm super excited to get into it.
Yeah, me too. So that's a pretty loaded question. Like, there's a couple of steps to that, but I guess for me, I'll take it back to 2014. Like, I didn't make the games, after I was on the podium in 13, and I knew at that point I really wanted to start a family. Like, I knew in 2014, my husband and I, we knew we wanted to start a family, and but I knew I wasn't done competing, and I wanted to end competing at the games level, at least on my own. I wanted to be on my terms and not on someone else's terms. Because in 14, I didn't really feel like I felt like I didn't qualify, not because of me, but it was on someone else's terms. Does that make sense? Without getting into much of the drama. And so I qualified in 2015, and my driving force that whole season was, I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to work my ass off, and I'm going to just sacrifice everything in terms of, like, family time, times with friends, like good times, and just bust my ass this whole year.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, I do qualify for the games, and I can start trying to start my family. So that was really like my goal that whole season, was becoming a mom and ending the season on my own terms. So I remember the last event at 2015 games was like the pegboard event, and finished and all that type of stuff. And we're in the tunnel in the Home Depot Center, or the Step Up Center, or whatever it's called now. And I just had like a huge relief. Like, I was like, okay. I was like, it's going to start, even if that means, oh, hi, Quinn. Even if that means we're going to start trying to have a family tonight. We're going to start trying. And then we got pregnant, and our son was born in May of 2016. So it kind of worked out the way that I wanted it to and imagined it was going to. But for me, there was never like, am I doing the right things? It was exactly what I wanted. So for me, it was kind of like I was ready to take a step back. And I do remember, you know, some people saying, why? You're so young. You're like at the top of your career. And it was just like, because to me, I was just like, I can compete, and I love competing, and I love inspiring people through competing. But to me, my family means more than anything.
Yeah.
So I knew my calling was to be a mom, and doesn't mean that I can't be active or an athlete, but I knew my priority and my calling was to be a mom, and I really wanted that. And I knew I wanted that with my husband. So I kind of I never had a question about it.
Yeah, that's cool. So you pretty much like it's just, you were so clear about what you wanted. You knew you wanted to qualify for the games. You just put, you know, your whole everything into it, and then you knew you wanted a family, so you literally just kind of switched 180 degrees and started to be like full on whatever I have to do to be to get pregnant, to be a mom.
Right. Yeah. I definitely, you know, after the 2014 season, I had a lot of healing to do within the sport. You know, I was pretty angry at the sport, and I think one of the things was like, for me though, I needed to end it on my own terms. It had to be that I had to feel like someone else wasn't taking it away from me. That if I didn't make the games, it was because of a mistake I truly 100% made. And in 2014, I didn't feel like that. So I had to really sit down and be like, okay, will I always have in the back of my mind, could I have made the games again? And I know I could, and I knew I could have. So I sat down with my husband and I said, I think I want to try one more time, because I was ready to try and have a family in 2014. But I knew mentally that I needed, as an athlete, to have closure in terms of making the games or not making the games on my own terms.
And why, what was the thing, for just like the listeners, what was the thing that made it not on your terms?
I think everyone could kind of refer back to 2014, and you know, there was a lot of controversy of the grid and then the CrossFit community, and I was the first big name to sign with the grid at the time, and it was just pretty evident. And I don't get hung up on it too much, because it's really hard to be a judge. Like, I don't even like judging my members during the open, because I get too nervous. Like, I'm like, I just can't handle. That's more nerve-wracking than being an athlete in front of thousands of people, in my opinion. But I just felt like that weekend, it just was the perfect storm, and it just was. There were certain things said and done that was evident, not only to me but to other people, that it just, I wasn't getting a fair shot.
Right.
And I don't know how to say it other than say it like that without being too political. But for me, it was like, okay, that's water under the bridge. I was very angry for a few weeks and very emotional, and felt like, you know, a good amount of people like weren't supportive during that time. And then I had to pick myself back up and say, fuck it. I need to get my head right. And if that, I'll never truly know if it was something, you know, because of that, or just I got the short straw in the bunch and got, you know, judges that just didn't make the right calls. But I never point the finger. I think it was just a combination of a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like, I never am mad at the judges. I don't feel like I got a fair shot for sure. I'll never know if it was on purpose or not. But in my heart, in my gut, I kind of feel like I didn't get a fair shot. because it was just evident. Like if you watch old videos of it and archives and stuff like that, it was just pretty evident.
Yeah.
But regardless, that was water under the bridge. That helped my motivation going into 2015 and not letting it. I had to make sure I didn't give it to someone else's hands. I had to be the one to take advantage of my athletic abilities and make sure that I did everything flawless so that there was never a question when it came to regionals, because regionals in 2014 was a nightmare. And I had to go into the 2015 season and take a step back and be like, I need to perfect things a little bit more. So there is no question in any judge's mind or anyone's mind that I'm doing everything perfectly. And that's what I did.
And so, what did, so like, let's just kind of talk about, 2015, what was training like then? How many hours a day? Let's just start with that.
So at the time I was still training at Dogtown and with Dusty Highland, and actually we've reconnected in the last 2 years, which has been great. But at the time I was training 6 days a week, sometimes 7. Sunday would be more like an active recovery, doing stuff in my garage, just moving because I would just be so sore. And once you get into that mindset of like, I need to get everything perfect, sitting around doesn't really make sense. So I would be in the gym like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably 4 hours. Thursdays was high endurance days, so maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. That was a short day. And then Friday, Saturday, same thing. Saturday was more longer metcons and chippers, repeating some workouts, and then Sunday was my rest day.
And did you ever feel like you hit burnout or anything?
Oh yeah. I mean, burnout in terms of physical, like going into the 2015 games, I had an injury. I had a back injury, sciatic injury. I mean, I've battled back a back injury since from I was in college, but really into CrossFit, there was probably an every 8 to 9 month period where my back would flare up. But going into the CrossFit games, I was told, yeah, you should probably, it's not the best idea to be competing, but I said, okay, well, I need to. So I was basically living off of extra strength Tylenol, which just didn't really do anything for me. It just kind of masked it a little bit. But I was probably taking like double the amount of extra strength Tylenol than you should be. And a lot of icy hot and a lot of acupuncture. I got acupuncture every day of the CrossFit games back at my place where I was staying. And I definitely had physically reached a burnt out kind of, but that's, I think every CrossFit Games athlete going into the games, if they're not some sort of injury or some sort of nagging something, if they're saying that they don't have that, they're lying, because I'm pretty sure every CrossFit Games athlete going into the games has something bothering them. We're all overtraining at that point. But that's just part of it. It's either you get over it and you deal with it and you do your best through it, or you kind of, I don't know.
What was your diet like back then?
Super strict. So I was really, I had really increased my caloric intake. I was working with Mike Dolce, who I really respect and love, because for the first time it was not about restriction. Okay. It was not about restriction.
Can you get more?
No, baby, I'm talking on the phone, okay? She's done. Sorry. It wasn't, I was working with Mike, so it wasn't about restriction. It was more about eating a lot of food to sustain, a healthy eating habit lifestyle, but also sustain how much I was training. And but he also said, hey Lindsay, you got to take a rest day. And he made me have a healthier mindset of Sundays you do nothing and you need to do nothing. So he was a really good person to work with. because for the first time he was like, you don't need to be eating less, you need to be eating more, and it's more healthy things. Like, you know, I was taking for the first time consistently taking you know, my multivitamin and fish oil. I was eating a lot more vegetables, a lot more food in one sitting. I remember starting with him and being like, oh my God, and crying. I'm like, there's no way I can eat all this food, like, you know, making all this food that I'd have to eat. And I ate and a lot of fresh food. I made every meal fresh. So I was probably the best fed and most committed to my eating that I had been in any season thus far.
Okay.
As an athlete, at least. So that was good.
Then, so let's talk about like the transition. So,
yeah.
You know, CrossFit Games is over. We now know that, okay, I want to start a family. I'm going to go full force with this. Now. And what was kind of like, how did you, what was the path for that? What did that look like for you? Because I'm sure everyone told you, hey, you're going to have to lay low. Was there some fear, like, shoot, like, you know, like, what am I going to do? Like, with all this time, you know, not spending in the gym, what's going to happen to my body?
Yeah. So I didn't really have a choice. So, I would say, so I opened up my gym, Automo. It officially opened up in August, so right after the CrossFit Games that year. And then I was training to be on Team USA, just because I was supposed to be on Team USA for the World versus USA. And I re-injured my back pretty significantly, like to the point where I had to go to the ER. And then I was told I was going to need a fusion of my lower lumbar. So I was set to go into actual, I had to call Dave and I said, hey, not only am I injured, not only am I injured, but I'm pregnant. So we were still trying to get pregnant, but then I got injured. And the day before my pre-op, we found out I was pregnant. So I was at home and I was like, I've been really tired. And then I was like, and I was remembered that it was all alone and my husband was at work because he was working nights still. And I'm like sitting on the couch. And then I like remember popping up and be like, oh my God, I haven't started my period. And I remember driving to Walgreens at like 10 o'clock at night and then coming home. Oh, wow. Hold on. Absolutely not.
Crazy.
Yeah, I remember coming home, going to Walgreens, getting the test, and then coming home. No. And the test being positive and me being injured and me being like, oh my gosh, this is just like a whirlwind of events. Like, how is this all going to happen? And then I remember going to my pre-op appointment and be like, hey, so good news is like my back kind of feels better, but the bad news is we can't do the surgery because I'm pregnant. And the doctor was like, oh my gosh. So I had to go in an intensive physical therapy, like 3 days a week. PT he was really great out here by where I live. And 1 second.
Hey, really quick, did you guys know that you can steal all of my gym and diet secrets for just $47? It's crazy, right? Literally, I've compiled all of my best knowledge that's taken me over 10 years and way over $10,000 to learn. And I've packaged it in an easy to follow step-by-step process for less than the price of a canister of protein powder. My 90-day self-led online course takes you through the exact steps I took my one-on-one clients through, which, by the way, my success rate has never been so consistently high. It's a complete A to Z female diet, mindset, and workout system with over 50 training videos. And it literally has everything you need to create the body you love without giving up everything to have it. Simply go to www.fitchickacademy.com to get access. Now back to the show.
Went to him 3 days a week, really focused on strengthening the lower back, hamstrings, because I was really quad dominant. Posterior needed to be stronger. So we really focused on that. while still really, playing it safe because I was newly pregnant. So the first trimester was just trying to, get the pain down to a minimum and, really strengthen posterior. So that was really good because I was really sick the first trimester. So I really couldn't do much anyways. Like when I say really sick, like I was really sick. So that was actually kind of a blessing in disguise, to have an injury. Come here, Quinn.
And not be able to do much.
Right. And not be able to do much because I had to really just lay low.
You didn't have a choice.
So it was kind of like a whirlwind of events, that all that happened. So then we went into the second and third trimester, and I was still super sick, and I ended up having a little bit of preeclampsia. So that made the whole pregnancy pretty rough and a lot of weight gain, but I gained like 90 pounds the entire pregnancy, which is rough. And then I ended up having RC 2 weeks early, almost 3, because of me. My blood pressure was just skyrocketing because of the preeclampsia. And at that point I had been on bed rest for 2 months. So I really didn't get to work out a whole lot. Like I would say in total of the 9 months, I probably worked out maybe 20 times.
Wow. That's
30,
crazy.
Yeah. 30 times.
Going from, that's a crazy quick shift.
Yeah. You're telling me, like, I remember my whole pregnancy being like, frick, am I ever going to be able to get back into shape?
Yeah.
That was like my constant question was like, okay, is he okay? Okay, he's fine. But at the same time, I was like, I don't care as long as he's fine, he's healthy. But I, at that point, as an athlete and as a female, I had never been into the point where I had never had to lose weight. Like I went from Olympic lifting to CrossFit, but I had gotten really thick because all I was doing was squatting and Olympic lifts, right? So that's part of it. You just put on a lot of muscle mass, and then you start doing cardio more and you lean out, right? Well, at this point, I had never been through that. I had never been through a dramatic weight loss journey. I had never had a child. So I was like, I've got my work cut out for me. So I had my son May 26th of 2016, and then started the very slow process of losing weight safely and smartly, and also training and getting back into shape safely. And I was more focused on that point of, it's fine, of doing things safely and correctly and healthy, because I didn't want to cause damage to my body, which would be irreversible. So I didn't want to cause any damage to the point where I'd be like, fuck, like there's no turning back. I really screwed myself up. And for me, I knew that from, being in my years of CrossFit and as an athlete, and then also the education that I have in the background, that I needed to do things intelligently.
And what does that mean to you?
So I at the time had to have give it to me now. No, you don't hit your dogs with that. Sorry. They're over here. We have a new dog, and they're basically like kids. Like they bicker with each other and they antagonize each other, and then they're fine. But like, I feel like I have 2 kids already because they antagonize each other back and forth.
Yeah.
I promise I won't hammer again. Okay?
No.
I promise.
No.
I promise.
So I had to really find the best people in my corner. So I started working with a postpartum coach, and at the time I was working with Jacob Wellock, who owns Double Edge Fitness in Reno. I had made a transition into coach. It was just, me and Dusty were at different parts of our life of growth, and he had to really focus on growing his gym, and I had a gym and had a family. So we kind of we went on different paths, and that was okay. And I worked with Jacob for a couple of years, and then me and Dusty started working back together in 2018. So kind of just everything went in full circle.
Sorry.
And you know, I really had to make sure I had the best people in my corner. So me, postpartum coach, and the best coach for me at the time.
Okay.
So that's what it meant for me. I really wasn't focused on weight loss. I was focusing on doing everything safely and healthy.
And so what did training look like for that in order for it to be safe and healthy? Was that like 1 hour in the gym, mainly strength training?
So for me, it was the first 4 months. It was frustrating because I knew I had all this weight I needed to lose, and I really felt good by 5 months. I would say by the 5th month of postpartum, I felt pretty good. I felt I had mostly healed from my C-section. I wasn't having residual pain or anything anymore. So I wasn't having any of excuse you. Sorry.
It's okay.
This is what happens when your husband's a cop and he gets called.
No, that's
My water gun.
Okay, stop. So I would say the first 4 months, I really focused on just movement patterns. I didn't really load a barbell. And I would say, I'm not saying first 4 months postpartum, I'm saying first 4 months being back in. So I really didn't start doing CrossFit type stuff probably till I was 4 months postpartum.
okay.
I was more at that point just walking and gently riding the assault bike, and I wasn't doing any pulling overhead. I was also focusing on pelvic floor exercises and posterior strength to strengthen my back still, because that was still a concern. So I was working more on pelvic floor stuff until 4 months postpartum, and then I started incorporating just the barbell and lightly starting pulling, but not overhead. And then we slowly started incorporating more movements as the months went on. So I didn't really start doing like muscle ups or muscle up transitions probably till 8 months postpartum, seven months postpartum. So we slowly incorporated different movements on a weekly or monthly basis. But we did progressions. We didn't, like for muscle ups, or pull ups, I'm sorry, I did ring rows for probably like freaking 2 months. And then I did banded pull ups, and then I did lighter banded pull ups, and then I did kipping, and then I did butterfly. And I honestly feel like that paid off because it made me stronger. And for the first time, I had to focus on the quality. And I had focused on quality before. So like in 2015 season, remember I said I had to make sure everything was flawless. Well, I had to make sure everything was flawless
with volume.
With volume.
Yeah.
But now for the first time, I had to make sure everything was flawless in terms of movement pattern. Yeah.
And so would you say that's kind of like, since we were so limited on how much volume we could do and how much intensity, that's where your focus just had to be?
Yeah, it just, I had to fight the athlete brain of, well, I used to be able to do 10 unbroken, and now I can barely, you can have water in a little bit. I can only do 2 now. I had to fight that athlete brain of saying, okay, but I have to be able to do 2 perfectly unbroken, or I have to be able to do 10 perfectly unbroken.
Okay, cool. So you set some new little, I do the same thing. It's like when I'm doing a workout, instead of doing it for time or for speed, I'm like, I'm going to make this power clean as perfectly as I can, or whatever. So it gives you something to focus on besides the time and the intensity that you're you know, that you're not after. So,
Right.
and then, shoot, I just had that question on my mind. Totally forgot what that was going to be. And so what is that kind of, so I know that right now you're kind of still going through that kind of phase, right? I mean, not necessarily, but like you can't do high intensity, because, you know, trying to get pregnant. So
this time around is much different. Like we got pregnant with RC in 3 months, I think. So pretty quickly. I felt like it was forever then, but pretty quickly we got pregnant. And this time around, it's been probably just over a year, a little over a year, and totally different journey. Like we would be considered like unexplainable in secondary infertility, where we both are really healthy. Senior's really healthy. I'm really healthy. We've had every test you could think of done, and everything comes back great. But we, you know, had a miscarriage in February, which was pretty world rocking. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. My worst enemies, I wouldn't even wish that upon people, because it's physically rough, but I would say it's emotionally something that is just, there's a lot of different avenues with it, a lot of different emotions, and you go through a lot of different things with it. It's a loss, you know, you lost, but it's more of a loss of what could have been. So that when there's a loss of what could have been, it's something that you have to really emotionally recover from. So we've been getting fertility treatment and, you know, IUIs and possibly IVF. But for me, it's more of, you know, I know my calling is to be a mother. And even on the roughest days, and trust me, you've seen a little bit of that. I have a 4-year-old who we're still limited on what we can go out and do. And he likes to be out in the world and on adventures. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, because it's so satisfying. And like, I was watching videos of him when he was, you know, a year old, and I was like, dang, he's 4 years old now. Like, where did it go? And to see the progression of someone that's your own child, whether they're your blood or not, they're your child, right? So whether, you know, you've adopted or they're biologically your kid, they're your kid. And that feeling of going to the end of the world for them is something you can't explain. Like, it's definitely something you have to experience to kind of feel. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. And every day do I miss competing? Yeah, I miss it. I miss certain parts of it. I miss that rush of being on the floor and just knowing that, you know, you did everything possibly you could, and you're just taxed on the floor, and you've got people cheering for you, and the motivation that you give people and the outreach that you give people. And I still get, the other day I got people saying, who do you miss most cheering on? And I had a bunch of inboxes of me, and I'm like, oh, way to like make me feel guilty. Like, I felt a little guilty, you know, because people miss seeing me out on the floor, and I miss that too. But I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I definitely know what a miracle RC is and what every child is, that it doesn't make me feel like I made a bad choice, the wrong choice. And for me, it was kind of like,
that's cool.
Okay. I would, at the point in 2015, I didn't care about another medal around my neck.
Yeah, you were looking for something else.
Doesn't mean I'm not competitive.
Right.
Okay, go get the doggy. It doesn't mean that I'm not competitive. Like in 2017, 18, you know, I didn't qualify for the games, and I was at regionals, and I was bummed because I know that I still could be there and do well at the games. I've always traditionally done better at the games. Everything's fine. I've traditionally done better at the games. Then go inside. Okay. I've always traditionally done better at the games because of the volume at the games, and I kind of do better with volume and kind of roll with the punches, and I still miss that. I still miss being at the games and the volume of it and the intensity of it and the unknown of it, and I miss, you know, being at Dave Castro's workout announcements and people being like, "Oh shit," and I miss that feeling. And but I don't know. I don't regret having my son and our son and him being in our life, because you can only compete for so long.
Yeah. And what do you feel like is in store for you the future? Like, do you see yourself going back to competing, or just taking on like a you know, a more fun approach to fitness?
Yeah, so right now I'm just trying to stay semi-fit. Trying to just use it more as a mental tool to kind of stay in a good mental space. That's what I would say I'm using it for right now. I don't think competing's out of the question. I think certain things would have to change. I definitely know that there's been changes in CrossFit recently. In terms of the competitive side of things, I definitely did not, and I'll be honest with you, and I didn't like the sanctional setup. I didn't like the timing of the open. I don't think it benefits the American athletes. I don't think it benefits the athletes that, I think it's very one-sided. It doesn't benefit every single athlete, and I felt like it was a very political thing. And no, in a little bit. I just didn't, it didn't fit my life, and I wasn't about to make sacrifices that weren't going to benefit my entire family. And it just didn't seem like it benefited everyone, and it only benefited certain people. So certain things are going to have to change. Yeah, for me to compete, whether it's we only have RC or we have another kid or two, and we will have more kids, because I keep praying for it every day, and we're doing everything possible. But I just feel like, and I feel like they're going to change again, with the positive steps that CrossFit's taken. But and I hate using the word fair, but it needs to be a more even drawing board, because right now it's not. It's not an even playing field at all. In a lot of aspects.
So we got about 3 minutes left. So I just want to do like some rapid fire questions, just kind of finish it off. So the first thing is, you know, your hands are clearly full, right?
Yeah,
like you're juggling a lot of stuff. No, yeah. It's just, I think, you know, a lot of people can relate to this. I cannot, right? Like I don't have a kid and a dog, and, you know, I don't own a gym anymore. So how do you prioritize yourself? Just real quick, we're going to just bust through these.
Well, I prioritize myself. My son comes first over anything. So over training, over the gym, over clients, family first. I think whether it's your husband or whoever, your family's always going to be there more and longer than anyone else. Clients and friends will come and go, but your family's always forever. So blood's thicker than water. So my family comes first. I also have a really good, in terms of the gym, I have a really good staff. My two full-time, yeah, you can have it. My two full-time coaches are really great support systems, and my brother-in-law also coaches. So Without them, the gym wouldn't run as smooth as it does. And then, yeah. And then I have a very supportive, hardworking husband.
Cool. So good people. Okay. And what does a typical training week look like for you? Like, how do you, is it every day, a couple days a week?
Yeah. So right now is pretty much every day. It's, well, we just got back from vacation, so we went camping, and we just went on walks every day around the beach, probably for like a 45-minute walk. But for now, right now, it's just getting movement in. So whether it's class workout or a Peloton bike workout, it's somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay, cool.
I also was doing jiu-jitsu before the quarantine. And
that's right. I saw you doing that. I did that for a little bit too. Yeah.
I really got into it, and I'm going to get back into it. I do foreshadow. I really do want to compete in that as well. So.
Cool. How, like, what do you feel like, how do you stop being so hard on yourself, comparing to where you were before, and start enjoying the process more? What is the key for that?
I don't know if I've ever stopped being hard on myself. I think I'm hard on myself in terms that I try to give my 150% no matter what I'm doing. And if I feel like I've personally fallen short of that, I have to really take a step back. And I talk about it, like I'll talk about it with my husband or my mom or someone. And I feel like expressing how I'm feeling or my anxieties and talking about it has always been a really good avenue.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So not internalizing it, like making sure I express it, talk about it, and then it's done.
Yeah. Okay. What motivates you to wake up and work out and eat well?
My
Every
son. I want to stay healthy for him and be around as long as I can and be able to be active and just be able to live a healthy lifestyle and set a good example.
Mm-hmm. And when you don't feel like working out, what do you do?
I usually go on walks. So we have a dog now, so we'll go on a walk with our dog and do that. And it's a pretty...
Whoa.
Welcome to life.
It takes a special person.
Right now they're wrestling. Arsenio. No.
Cool. Awesome, Linz. And then the final question is, what do you feel like is the key for women that want to look fit and do it in such a sustainable manner where they don't find themselves hungry and exhausted and burn out? Like, what do you feel like, because you've been through that transition? So yeah.
I would say that you gotta be consistent and try to set small goals for yourself and I know it's hard not to try to get hung up on the big picture, but what small goals will get you to that big goal.
Mm-hmm.
And not lose your mind when you have a 4-year-old running around asking for an M&M.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How do you do that, dude?
Stop. There could be worse things happening right now, I guess.
And you that obviously took training, had to.
Yeah.
Different kind
I
of training.
would say just try to focus on the task at hand and the small goals is what I would say. And that you can do it. You just got to give yourself some grace and some patience.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome, Linz. Well, where can people follow your journey?
Right now you can follow me at Lift Like Lindsey on Instagram, or Automo CrossFit is our gym. But those two are the best ways to follow me.
Cool. Automo CrossFit. And that's in California, right? What part?
It's in Moore Park, California.
Okay, cool. Awesome, Lindsey. Thank you so much for being on the show.